I've been planning out a new loadout here, especially since Novritsch mentioned they wanted to send me the SSP28 to review. And if you haven't seen the unboxing video or the review video, go do that. But I feel like these two just look inherently amazing together. That's not why we're here. Let's get to the point. I had an absolute blast filming with this thing, and the performance out of the box was some of the best performance in a sidearm that I've seen in a very long time. And I'm not just saying that because it's sponsored. They don't force my hand here. This thing was just a blast, which is crazy because when it first released and the news came out that it was coming out, I wasn't the biggest fan of the look, specifically just because the exposed springs kind of turned me off. But I'm so glad I got the opportunity to check it out because it is a lot cooler than I thought. Also, they were kind enough to send me a bunch of accessories, speaking of which, one of them is the red dot plate. It comes ready to adapt with an RMR mount, and coincidentally, I also have a Novritsch red dot sitting around that I purchased on my own. So again, I want to say thanks for sending this out. Basically set me up completely here. I'm really excited. Why don't we get this guy installed? Obviously, this will be a little bit of a shorter video. Now, when I unboxed this, I was originally under the impression, I don't know why, I thought maybe that the RMR plate would take the place of the iron sights in the back. And I was worried about that because what's really cool about this is the split slide design, which reduces the amount of recoil and increases the amount of gas efficiency, or I guess decreases the amount of gas you need to blow back the blowback housing. So I was worried that that would add weight to it. I didn't think it, I don't know why, but it actually sits right on the barrel, which will help keep it completely stiff, which is really, really cool. It's just going to make keeping your sights when you're ADS on target so much easier. I'll pop this guy open and see what comes with it. I'd imagine it's just the plate and the hardware. So we got 4 screws in there we'll keep in there for now. And yeah, it's just a plate. So the plate should take place of the plate that holds our hop-up nub in place. And I'll show you what I mean in a second. And we got to figure out of the screws which ones we need to put where, because there's shorter and longer ones. I would assume that this works for the 2 different replicas. Let's take out these screws and see what size they are first. We're also going to have to... See, that's interesting. How is that going to work? Okay, so the grub screw sits on this plate, and I'm interested to see when we take this off where we put the grub screw to adjust the hop up. Let's grab some bits, and we'll start going to town on this thing. Just 2 screws. You don't have to undo the hop up screw. Something really cool that I noticed when I had first taken this thing apart was that the way this is designed, since your hop-up set screw, or your TDC hop-up screw, is connected specifically through this plate and applies tension down onto the hop-up nub, you can actually keep your set screw set. So when you do take this off and you take it apart, it stays preset to where you want it, because when you put it back on, the little grub screw in the center there is still in the same position it was in originally. Now, the question that I had now is, obviously this plate down here is going to take place of this plate, I would imagine. I just don't understand what we're going to do with that grub screw. Now you can see the little hop up nub popped out. So we'll drop that back down. Do we keep that in? Like, I want to say it goes like that, or does it not? Does this just go on top? It might just go on top. You might just pop this off. And does this go on top? There it is. It just goes on top. I see now. That's really cool. Okay, so these now are going to be too short of screws. What we got to do is get a different set of screws to throw in there. And what's really helpful is some of these are longer than other ones, so we can actually just match up the thickness and the length. And it looks like the longer and thinner ones are the ones we're going to want to use, because those match up with the same diameter of the screws that we just pulled out of there. So we'll put those aside. I'm dropping everything all over the place. Get this back where it goes. Like I said, now my hop-up is still already set, which is nice. We'll drop screws in. And they should be of the same dimension. I imagine so, just because it's easier to have a bunch of screws at the same dimension. When you make them at the factory, it's switching out less parts. I'm going to just tighten them until they're barely on there. And then we'll kind of just go through and give it like quarter turns each until we're tight as can be. Give a little extra torque. Might want to Loctite those in place. It's a little rattling. It's not on the slide part that moves. So you can see now, hop-up screw is still set. You have access to it right there. It's a little bit deeper. You do lose the plus and minus. I almost wish the plus and minus was still on there, like a minus here, a plus there. But that should be ready to go. And then the plate sits a little risen off the blowback unit, which still reciprocates. But you can see that is actually locked into the barrel, which is stabilized and built into the lower receiver. So this is like, this platform is built for performance, not so much like a realism. But a lot of, real steel is also going this direction too. Now let's see how we can go about installing this guy. We just have to take it off the plate. I've used this quite a bit. This is one of their BB-proof designs. It's a great red dot, honestly. I have a blast using it. I just took it off of one of my little carbine kits that I have the SSP28 on that I purchased myself, which I do like too. Hopefully these screws work. This is all the stuff that came with it, so I imagine if it worked to set up like this, it'll work when I install it onto here. All one company. The only downside, so there's no like pegs, which hopefully shouldn't be a problem, but I would have imagined there was going to be like, pegs on this plate to help keep it centered and stable. And it should just sit like that. So it gets the right length. Hopefully those screws are the right diameter and the right pitch. Oh no. Are we just not in? Oh, there we go. I just don't know if they're long enough. What's the problem? Maybe they're not long enough. Oh, we got a genius in the house. The two smaller screws that come with it are to mount with the red dot. These are too thin. Can you see that? These are thicker. They're shorter though. Hopefully they protrude out the base enough. This is one of Novrich's red dots. It does protrude out the base quite a bit. Let's try this again. These came with it. They're going to be the right thread and the right pitch. That's what we're talking about. That's locked in place. Cool. Now I'll just kind of go through, tighten that down. And we'll go through and tighten that down. Take a look at that. That bad boy's ready to field. So weird. I notice like myself sometimes wanting to like just pull back over here or like rack it from the red dot. It's a little bit harder to get to the slide here because you have to actually wrap around the back. But with the consistency at which this thing locked back during the review video we filmed, I don't think I'm going to have any problems with that. I just have to rack it back to one time, and then it should lock back through every mag that I have, and I'll get used to it. Takes a little bit of a learning curve, but this is going to be, I think, my primary sidearm now. I've been running the Lancer Tactical LTX competition as my sidearm for a majority of games, and I think what I want to do is start running this guy for a bunch of reasons. It's very similar in the fact that the slide is stabilized on its own, but I love the universal holster mount, and you could use these with the LTX competition. It's not like a buying factor, but they come with the base plates. But I do love the really low recoil that it has, and the extremely high cyclic rate, which I think will make up for when I'm running like a sniper specifically, when I could just spray into a bush and I got to make sure that I make contact with somebody. And especially when I run it with this guy. Catch you guys in the next adventure. Thanks, Novritsch, for sending it out. You've built out this thing beautifully. I had a lot of fun with it, and whether you love Novritsch products or not, I highly suggest you take a look at this thing. It's definitely worth the gander. Anyways, hide the video. Peace.